Hey guys, Dan here with Battlefield Curator. What is the future of military surplus collecting gonna look like? Well, in this video, I plan to give you my analysis and my opinion on how military surplus collecting will look like in the future. But before we get started, I'd ask you to pulverize that like button and subscribe for the algorithms. It really helps out with the growth of the channel. Appreciate it. Thanks. And if you're just getting into gun collecting, I've linked some books you can read in the description. They'll really help you out with your collecting journey. All right, so the way I would think about trying to predict the future is to look at the past. And since this is a history channel, there's a lot of history already out there, and we've kind of seen things, how things go. Historically speaking, military surplus and collectible weapons have gone up in value and higher than rates of inflation and higher than some other assets that are out there. Now, one of the things that we are not certain about in the future are gun laws, which can affect military surplus collecting in a negative way, or they can affect it in a positive way. But that's just one thing that we'll have to look out and keep in mind as the future progresses. All right, guys, my outlook for these collectibles is probably 50 to 100 years from now. I know that sounds crazy, but if you think about it, right now we're already seeing a lot of values spike in a lot of these collectibles. That's because World War I and World War II were some of the largest conflicts, with millions upon hundreds of millions of firearms involved, and the whole world was changed by these two events. So the historical significance of World War I and World War II weaponry is astronomical, and collectors, museum curators, and even just, firearm enthusiasts have a general gist of the impact that these have had. So let's take a look at some historical weapons that shaped just the United States. Let's look at Winchester, Henry, and Marlin lever actions. Lever actions have been popularized throughout history, and guess what? They, on auction prices, will go to crazy levels. You're talking like 5 grand, 10 grand. And check this out. Henry had produced some iron-framed versions, very small number of iron-framed lever actions of the Henry 1860 rifle. This one sold at auction for $600,000 plus. So what can be the equivalent to something selling at auction 50 to 100 years from now that's just like that? Well, if you think about it, you'd have to look for a weapon with a lot of historical significance that's in very fine condition, maybe like a sniper version or a very rare produced one, and maybe original condition. Some of those weapons from World War I and World War II could go for a very high auction value out in the future. All right, and 50 to 100 years from now, with the current gun laws in place, it's hard to predict how we're going to get some of the current military surplus that has been used throughout time. So right now, if we look at M4 carbines, M4A1s that were used by U.S. forces in the current Iraq and Afghanistan conflicts, those, since they are burst or they are full auto, they would probably have to be in parts kits. So military surplus collecting in the future, we're looking at probably having a lot of parts kits just according to what the gun laws are now. So that means that you're going to have a lot of companies that probably will specialize in manufacturing these, and they'll also bring out their own versions when they get in all these parts kits in bulk. Like Palmetto State Armory with their Romanian AK series, they got a bunch of Romanian AK parts kits and had put them all together. They also got the Russian parts kits and put the Russian AK-47s together. We're also seeing parts kits from the Galils. So it's probably only a matter of time till we start seeing parts kits that are built by some of the other manufacturers, and then they send them to these big gun websites, these big gun companies, and distribute them. I mean, we already seen a huge spike in certain parts kits, like the AKM, the Romanian AKM parts kits. So those had increased 100% in value. I used to get them for 200 bucks, and now the parts kits are like in the 400s, almost 500s. Another parts kit that you saw a lot of people buying up really fast and that spiked up really fast in value were the M16A1 parts kits, because if you think about it, M16A1 is pretty popular in America. The AR-15 platform is, and you could get the Brownells receiver and have your own M16A1 clone with a parts kit build. And, you know, they're just easy to make. I mean, you know, there's so many videos out there, and you don't need crazy amount of tools to make the M16A1 from a parts kit. So what would be some that we might see in the next few years? Probably, I would say VZ58, definitely Galil's, any AK platforms. You're probably going to see like machine guns that will be converted to semi-auto, and you know, because the manufacturers have to put these things together from parts kits, they're probably going to, you know, ask a lot of money. Now these parts kits could also come into the civilian market, and just your average Joe can probably buy them and put them together, which means there'll probably be certain tools that will be specially made for putting some of these parts kits together. So in the future, I'd say expect probably more parts kits, given that the current gun laws would not allow for importation of certain items that are class 3. All right, so what else can we expect in the future of military surplus collecting? Well, we'll probably see a lot of pistols and sniper weapons that were used in today's modern era. You'll probably see like the Beretta 92FSs or the SIG P320s. You'll see probably other pistols from foreign nations. Right now we're seeing CZ82s, CZ75s. We're seeing the IMI Jerichos, though I think some of those had really dried up. So, I mean, it might not be too far along till we see some more pistols start coming in. All right, another thing that to keep in consideration for the future of military surplus collecting is obsolete ammo. That's right. So when you think about ammo and you think about the phases and all the newer production of ammo that comes along, like 6.5 Creedmoor, some of the older ammo kind of just gets phased out, and now you have small niche manufacturers that will be producing them, whereas, you know, majority of manufacturers are producing the things that will be in higher demand. So what will be in higher demand as far as military surplus rifles go? You'll probably still see the 5.56, you'll probably still see the 7.62 x 3.9, you'll probably still see 9mm, but maybe some of the smaller things you might not see is maybe 32 ACP. Maybe that will become obsolete in the future. Maybe some of the calibers that foreign weapons use that weren't really used too much in today's modern age, like some of the rarer rifle rounds would probably be 8x56mm R used for the Steyr M95s. So yeah, just keep in mind the ammo that would probably not be available in the future, and if you do reloading and you enjoy it, it might not be a bad idea just to start now, projecting out in the future that, hey, you know, this rifle I like shooting, the ammo probably won't be available in like 20 to 30 to even 50 years out from now. All right, and something else that we'll probably see in the next 50 to 100 years is new reproductions of some of these older style weapons that just weren't manufactured anymore. Right now, we're seeing a new manufacture of M1 carbines. M1 carbines have just been really popular. So we might see new productions of M1 Garand rifles, maybe of the old 98K rifles. You know, you'll probably have some heritage companies that will be making these historic replica rifles due to just people like to go out and shoot some of these things. So out there in the future, you probably don't want to take some of your high-end collectibles to the range to shoot them all the time. You would probably, if you like shooting them, you'd probably get a reproduction. And then on top of that, there probably might be, I don't know, it's hard to say, but I think there still be people that do reenacting to relive and carry on the historical aspects of what happened during a lot of these battles. You'll also have movies and TV shows probably based around that era of the World War I, World War II time frame. And it would just be absurd for a company to gather a whole bunch of collectibles to use for a movie. So either they'll be CGI'd in, or either a new company would have to manufacture some of these older classic rifles as a new reproduction. You're seeing this with some of the old Colt single-action army revolvers. Western movies are huge. You know, still, I mean, you still find Western movies intriguing and TV shows intriguing. All right, and the last thing we might see in 50 to 100 years from now, if we still have importation of certain military surplus weapons, I would think that you might still find batches of World War II and World War I surplus coming into the country. It'd be very rare, they'd be high priced, and they'll probably be in horrible condition, or you might find them in decent condition. But honestly, being stored for 200 years, I don't think people actually go and maintain some of these things over that amount of time. You're already seeing really poor surplus, poor condition surplus coming into the country and being sold at a high price. So if there was some collectibles that are found in small batches in the future, in 50 to 100 years from now, that are from the World War eras, they probably won't be in the best condition. But they'll sell for a pretty high price because they'll be in demand as collectibles and museum artifacts. Well, that's it for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. I'd like to hear what you think the future is going to look like for military surplus collecting. As long as this country stays true to its constitution, I don't think we'll have a problem, but you just never know. It's like you're trying to predict the weather like 10 years from now. And if you like this kind of content, be sure to share it with some of your friends. Also, check us out on Instagram and Facebook, and be sure to learn history and curate history. Make it a great day.
And when you think about things in the future, you gotta keep in mind the rise of technology. Where will we be as humans? Think about social platforms such as the metaverse, or colonizing another planet such as Mars. You know, we might need museums at Mars.